Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Justin the Food Entrepreneur Show. I'm Justin Bizzarro. I'm your host. That's Bizzarro. For anyone who's out there who wants to find us, you can find us on Instagram at Justin the Food Entrepreneurs, or you can listen to us on Spotify or wherever else you grow yourself through podcasts. So, before we get started and I introduce my guest for today from New York City, New York, I'm going to actually talk a little bit about a question I received in. And I figured I would answer it. I am an open book. I am authentic, and I try to be vulnerable on the podcast. I did, in fact, I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm also a human, and I know I do a podcast, and I know my life's very public, and I know a lot of entrepreneurs or future entrepreneurs or people that I influence and I'm a role model to, especially younger kids in high school and things like that, particularly around high schools that I went to or colleges I went to, so I appreciate the feedback. I do things. I'm a passionate Italian American, dream loving, go after what I want. I live life publicly, obviously, because of the podcast, and I've said some things on the podcast that have always not been great. One of them was, I'm in Nashville now. I'm gonna find the woman of my dreams and get married and have children. That was said because I was upset about a breakup because of something that was going on, and I said that back in September. It was not something that I should have said, but I did say it. It was where I was. I was hurt. I was trying to react to a separating situation and trying to grow as a human. So to answer your question, the audience's question, or Brandon's question that he submitted, I don't know what I'm doing right now with life. I am trying to be an entrepreneur. That's what I'm always focused on, like God first, business, or God first, family second, business third, and then I take care of the community. So somewhere in there, that's the order. That's just the way I'm handling things. Just because I say things or do things or whatever, I'm a flawed human. It's, in some ways, I'm an example of what to do, and I'm also an example of what not to do. That's how I learn, by looking up to my mentors, by looking up to my leaders, and understanding what to do and what not to do. I hope there's more things what to do than not to do, but I'm not a perfect person, and I am emotional, and I am passionate, and I'm always working on composure and being the best version of myself, and a life of excellence, and learning and adjusting to a new world constantly around me. So that being said, the question is this. The answer is this to the question, what does the future hold? Am I still with Deborah? Why did I make that comment? The comment is, no, I'm not. Deborah and I are no longer together. Do I wish that we were together and that I had done things differently? Of course, I'm a human. I make mistakes. I didn't handle things well under pressure. I let things erode in our relationship, and that's the way it happened. And she was a great co-host, and this podcast wouldn't be around if Deborah hadn't helped me start the podcast. So to answer the question in its entirety, yes, we're still friendly. Yes, she matters to me. Yes, my stepkids still matter. It's just, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, I have a lot of emotion. I have a lot of passion. I have a lot of things that I'm leading up at the forefront. And sometimes I let my emotions or my thought or my imagination get the better of me. It doesn't mean that I don't use my imagination for visionary things and that it doesn't help me in many, many ways as an entrepreneur, but it also can hurt me. And if I don't keep things in check, and I don't think keeps in check with my will versus God's will, so on and so forth, then things can get out of tune or out of whack. So that's sort of what we're talking about. I don't know exactly how to answer the question. I don't want to hurt anyone, but I do say that the decisions, the things that have gone on, they are my fault. I have done them. I'm an entrepreneur. I lead. I make decisions. I pivot. Sometimes I pivot wrong, and it costs things. And in my case, I just made some mistakes, and I made some decisions out of pressure and out of trying to go to Nashville and start a new life that cost me. And now I'm trying to work on those things. So as an entrepreneur, as someone that everyone looks up to and talks about that I'm a mentor to them and a coach to them by listening to podcasts and entrepreneurs out there, my goal is for every entrepreneur out there to have a better personal relationships than I have had. That's why I always talk about one person's always got to be good at making money. One person's always got to be good at managing it. Even if you're good at both in a relationship, someone's always ends up doing more of one or the other, in my opinion. And money is a big deal in relationships. And if you don't figure it out at the beginning, and you don't figure it out as entrepreneurs, particularly as one may make more than the other in a relationship, things can go awry. So here's my input and my final answer to where I think you're going. Relationships come and go. Businesses come and go. We want our businesses and our relationships to stay around forever. They just don't. That's just not always the case. In some cases they do. Ford's been around forever. Sometimes they acquire companies. Lincoln's is around forever because Ford acquired them. Mercury used to be around, but they're no longer around. So while they were acquired and they still technically exist within Ford, they no longer exist. And so that's just the way life is. And so I don't know if I answered everyone's questions, a little more personal, but I've had a few of them now asking about it. So that's where that is. With that being said, I have with us from New York, like I said, 357 Grand Street, New York, from Diller Restaurant, Michael Garlick. How are you doing today, Michael?
I'm very well. And you?
I'm very good. I took up a little too much time on that commentary. Geez, commissary, I got food on the brain. Commentary, but I appreciate the time, Michael, and coming on and letting me sort of steal the show for a little bit before we got into your story.
Yeah, you got to get it off your chest. Definitely. It's all good.
Yeah. And I'll explain it better in another episode, but I figured I'd start to answer the question since it's there. So, Michael, let's talk about you. This podcasts are more about you guys and your entrepreneurial journey. So tell me about your story. How'd you end up in pickles, for lack of a better term, but what's your story? Where'd you grow up? What are there entrepreneurs in your background? And how did you end up a food entrepreneur?
Good question. I mean, I grew up in Hollis, Queens. That's where I spent most of my time. I moved around here and there, but most of the time was spent in Hollis, Queens. Single mom, brothers, and, we had to make ends meet. So, I was the oldest out of my siblings with my mom, and I had to find a way, certain things, certain struggles. We all have struggles, and I had to make sure my mom and my family was good at a young age, and I went out and made sure, we all had a way to live and be happy. So it started out there in Queens, and then growing up, and you actually did an interview with him recently. Alan Kaufman was a family friend, actually my father's friend, a very good friend, and he used to be a manager of an old-time pickle company, but now he's the owner of the Pickle Guys. So, being a friend and being young, going to school, I started helping him out with the Pickle Guys. Started part-time, full-time, just to make some couple extra bucks for my family. And then that's how I started in the pickle game, before and after the Pickle Guys, even currently. And then once we started doing that, we try to be a little bit more innovative, a little bit more niche and unique, and that's where Diller was born. And we tried to take the pickle and fry it, and we got a fried pickle, and that's how Diller was born.
I love this actually because while this episode hasn't been released, it'll be released by the time this episode's released, the Pickle Guys, and I think it's only a couple ahead of this one.
Okay.
And Alan talks about how he learned from other pickle entrepreneurs and guys back in the day. And it's interesting because now he's giving back what he's been given, and he gave it to you. And now you're an entrepreneur also in the space, just like entrepreneurs in the pickle game gave him his pickle game. Now you have the pickle game because of Alan. I think that's kind of interesting, or the Pickle Guys. So
yeah, definitely.
So tell me about, have you always loved pickles? Did you grow up around pickles? Did you grow up pickling? Other than just being in New York, is it something that sort of your family did at all?
No, it's just my father's friends used to own an old school pickle company, and I used to go over there, and he used to work there when I was young, and I used to go over there after school, and eventually I just started, I don't know, my last name, Garlick, I don't know, it was just an attraction. I don't know what it was. I fell into a barrel,
Yeah.
And that's how it started, yeah.
So I love this. I love what you've done. I love that the pickle game is so strong. So let's talk about, you decide to go into the pickle game. You decide to go out on your own. How'd you have the conversation? How'd you find a space? How'd you come up with a concept? And how'd you make this transition? Because while pickles are one thing, actually frying pickles is a whole other thing. So you've kind of made a transition just from the pickling into the actual cooking of the food game. So talk to me about that transition in its entirety, finding the place, coming up with the recipes, designing the menu, all of those type of things.
Yeah, the very important part of being an entrepreneur is that that passion, that drive has to be there. Without that, it's difficult to move it forward or move ahead or climb up the ladder. And, just being with pickles, it kind of it was starting to get redundant. So between Alan, William, Mike, other owners of the pickle guys and the other pickle guy team, other pickle guys, we all are pickle guys, we sat down and said, listen, we got to be a little bit more innovative. And, my current partner now, William, he says, listen, let's make a fried pickle shop. And you know what? We sat down and says, how do we create a menu around pickles that are actually prepared cooked food? So we had to sit down and do a lot of research. It took a lot of time. We had to research target markets. What do people like? What do people love? We know they like a pickle in a barrel, but now do you cook it? Do they like it? So we had a lot of questions to answer. And throughout our research and maybe a few years of planning, we created our first few menu items. After taste testing, sauces, we rolled out a few, didn't like this, like that, and we kept the best. So we started out with just 3 or 4 menu items, and we had to go from there.
And so what were those menu items? How did you come up with the recipes? Talk to me about that, and what were those items, and when did you launch?
So we had to, in consideration of our pickle customers already from the pickle guys, we're kosher over there, so we had to be kosher in this new spot, in this new location. And we wanted to have the same target market. And in order to stay kosher, you have to make a choice, either meat or dairy. You cannot have both. So we stuck with the dairy side and no meat. That way we are vegetarian with some vegan options. So the first menu item was actually, of course, we had to make the menu around a pickle. So we took a sour pickle and we said, how can we make the best fried pickle and be vegan and also gluten-free so we can cater to many diets? So we had to do a lot of research. We hired a couple of people to help us with the research, and we created a batter that really stuck well with the pickle and also can cater to a few diets. So that was the first menu item. Then Alan he came up with an egg roll idea with some kind of pickles in it and different items. So from there, we had to scale it and make it professional to restaurant grade. And we took that idea of his and made an egg roll. That was another item. And then we started doing a lot of research. What fried food is best? Orange cheese, rice ball. So we made a rice ball. We made actually a pickled okra rice ball. So we pickled okra, pickled sweet peppers, a few cheeses, and we bread it, and cook the rice and mix it all up with some gumbo spices. Very interesting. We wanted to make very unique menu items where it cannot be replicated. You only can get it at Diller NYC. That was 3. And then I think, we cut some potatoes and see how we can switch the game up. So we brined them. Everything has to be pickled. So we let them soak in salt, water, and vinegar for a few days, pulled them out, fried them. They taste like salt and vinegar chips, something that you've never tasted before. So we had that on the menu. So with a lot of research and a lot of, trial and error, we got those menu items to start with, and that was a beautiful start.
This is really cool. I love this, what you guys are doing. So what does your entire menu look like now? Like, what's your most popular items? And I mean, you're kind of in a pickle district down there, for lack of a better term. Did you find success initially? So let me back up a little bit. Let's talk about the menu, the full menu that you have now. What are your most popular items? And then what are the items that you have on there? And I guess what's your favorite?
Yeah, right now the most popular item is what we're known for, the fried pickles. The second most popular would be our burger. We have a meatless burger that when you try it, you'll be confused. Like you would ask the question again and again, you sure there's not any meat in here? Those are our two most popular items. We use like caramelized onions, a cheese, a house-made sauce, bread and butter pickles from the pickle guys, and then serve it between a Martin's potato bun. Those are the two most popular items. The item I like the most are probably the fried pickles. We've expanded to fried pickled other items like fried mushrooms or fried olives. We batter, bread it, and if it tastes good pickled, it might taste good fried. So fried mushrooms and fried pickles are probably my most popular. I mean, the ones I like. And yeah.
So now that you've built this business and things got started, what is it? I mean, do people come all day long? Do people come at night? Do you get written up like the pickle guys? Because I've got to imagine, like, this is a unique concept, and not to mention, it's typically a Southern dish.
Yes. So our hours of operation are usually from 11:30 to 8. So we'll get a lunch and probably dinner crowd. Weekend, definitely, when you want to go for a stroll in the neighborhood, we have a little cone you can walk with a dipping sauce, a little snack. Or if you want to have a burger on the go, you definitely could stop by from us. So we do a lot of catering to office buildings for lunchtime. People in the neighborhood want to come down and just have a snack of pickles and maybe burger and fries for lunch, and some of a dinner. We get a few write-ups. The lowdown local media outlets have reached out and did a couple of reports on us. We have a pretty decent reviews on Google and Yelp. So we try to be noticed a little bit, but we stay true to the brand and try to make sure customer service and our quality of food is top notch.
You talked about business partners and having partnerships and a team and a group around you. Talk to me about the team that you guys have, your qualities. What do each of you guys do? Sort of what's your superpower, for lack of a better term, and what you guys do well together. I feel like you're obviously accomplishing something. You've done multiple businesses together. So tell me about each one of you. What are your greatest skills, and then how do you come together as a team?
Well, I like to keep it as like, a lot of people, customers, a lot of patrons actually get the idea of that's the owner. And, I don't like to really portray that. I like to say, hey, listen, we're all a team. Whether you work here or not, we all have positions and we all have duties to make this company or this brand great, right? So we're all a team, down to the person who's picking the barrel out to the person who's doing all the financing and marketing, and everybody has a job. So we try to work as a family. Everybody knows a little bit of everything, but everybody has their special duty that this is him, So yeah, and you can't do everything yourself. So you always need a team, whether it's partnership, employees, whether you're employer, employee, you need a team regardless. So I think that building a team is very important. Having a lot of morals and ethics is very important. Standards are very important in order to cater to the brand, because it's, being an entrepreneur and creating a business is almost like having a child. Whether it's 2 parents, 3 parents, 1 parent, your goal is to create a brand and be selfless to that brand.
I agree with you, and it is a child, and if you don't take care of it, it does go very wrong. And
Exactly.
And the individuals that you're raising within the company, the executives, the employees, that can go very wrong as well. And especially if you don't figure it out and you don't make adjustments. And we're going to make mistakes as an entrepreneur. You know, I made plenty of mistakes. Unfortunately, at the very beginning, there were a lot of people that I ended up having to let go because I didn't manage them properly, because I was young and I didn't know, and I hurt them. And that's what as an entrepreneur, we have or managers, we have a lot more responsibility than we know. Like, we can either lift people up or we can put them down, but we've also got to understand that when we're learning, we are going to make mistakes, and we don't want to keep making the same mistakes with the same person over and over again. Sometimes, even though they're a good employee, if we've made a lot of mistakes in our learning, we have to let them go because it will negatively impact them by staying in the environment where we've unfortunately wronged them in some ways. But that is part of the deal. That is part of the deal, unfortunately, of being an entrepreneur. We learn at the same rate as our employees, but because we learn a little differently and we're able to bounce back, we can often have negative impact on those that aren't built like we are, or haven't developed their entrepreneurial skills or thick skin, or however you want to look at it, as we have. So, Michael, tell me about yourself. Who have been your motivators in life? Who inspires you? What keeps you going every day?
It's a real good question. When I was younger, growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, where I can, have a perspective of things, adults around me were very redundant. You go to work, you got to be there at 9 o'clock, you work 5 days a week, you get 1 week vacation, and it wasn't too attractive to me, So I don't think one person was I didn't have one specific person who motivated me. It was just, I just sat back and looked at what I would want to be when I grew up. And a 9 to 5, which, when you're an entrepreneur, you have to do that sometimes, as far as time, but it's more of an expressive feeling. Like, you can be innovative when you're an entrepreneur. And I saw, when I was growing up, I didn't see the adults around me. They weren't able to be too expressive or innovative, or, things that they had on their mind. They couldn't be openly creative. And I felt like I had a lot of ideas in my head. So, just going to work, clocking in and clocking out, they would jumble in my head and I need to release them. So the only way I can do it is becoming an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I find that I will avoid at all costs going into a corporate world or working for someone else, no matter how much money it is. It's like I avoid it like the plague. Like, it's the most interesting thing that happens, even in my transitions in life. I will literally not, it's like two magnets that are reversed, that are polarizing each other. They're just pushing each other away. And that's what happens to me. And I agree with you. It's the freedom. It's the stress is worth it. I find huge purpose in it. I find the day-to-day leading extremely purposeful and extremely fulfilling. I find the things that are normally stressful to everyone else around me, not stressful. I find people stress the stressful thing. Like, why are we stressing out? That's the part that gets stressful for me, and that's the part I'm working on right now, actually, is how to deal with other people's stress. Because generally I don't get stressed over what they're stressed over, but if enough people get stressed, I start to pick up their stress, and that's what I'm working on, is how to deal with, okay, like, I don't care about the thing that's causing the stress, but all of you being stressed out is stressing me out because we shouldn't be stressed out about it, and that's the thing that I think as a leader, we constantly are upping our game, and we're constantly trying to figure out new ways to improve ourselves and notice little quirks about ourselves to improve our entrepreneurial game, which often improves our businesses, which improves the people that work with us, or our team members, and so on and so forth. So I think there's a lot of that.
Definitely.
what do you hope in the future brings for you at Diller? Like, what do you guys, how'd you come up with the name, number one? And two, what are you hoping the future holds for you?
We had to just do a little testing of names and see how it sticks with us, a little, our friends and family, opinions. And we came up with a name, and we worked with a team that does branding, and we had to decide on what we like the best. So we sat down as a team and decided that this is the best. We felt that it gives the character, which is like a bear, it gives it a whimsical, very friendly kind of vibe. And that's what we want. When you come into our shop and try our food, it's going to be fun. It's going to be cool. It's of all ages. It's of anybody coming in. It's going to be an experience. It's not just about the food. It's an experience. And what do I see in the future for Diller is just giving that experience to different communities. So we are kosher. We can offer that experience to the kosher community. We can offer it to a vegan community, a vegetarian community. So it's just the benefits that we feel that our food is included, which are pickles. Pickles is always healthy for the gut, right? Probiotics, it's gut health. And that with our food and, with our mission, we can give that to different kind of communities. And tied in with the experience, it's a win-win for us. So hopefully we can get there in the future, and we're going to work to that.
And I assume you're hoping this grows. I mean, do you guys use delivery services? Talk to me about that. I mean, you're frying food. It's New York City. How do you manage all of that? Do you use any of the delivery services to push your product?
Yeah, we do. We actually at one point was on every delivery service app, so any third party. But unfortunately, we had to change those things because their market caps, their percentage was a lot. So they would take a high percentage. COVID, actually, New York State created a law that prevents all of these third-party apps from charging so high, so they put a cap on it. But now, currently, we're in battle with, they're starting to release the cap and trying to go back up. Restaurants, every penny counts. So if you're taking 1%, it's going to matter. So we're trying to work that out now where it doesn't eat into our team. We still have a team that we have to support. So we have to, bills we have to pay. And if it eats into that, then, hey, listen, you can always order from our website where there's no extra fees. There's no marketing fees for these third-party apps. That we suggest anybody who wants to support us, just go to dillernyc.com. Maybe you can call up and buy some merch, and directly with us. But we understand how convenient it is for these third-party apps and how convenient they make it for customers, and they offer discounts. So we try to be, on one or two that best fits, but, we'd have to be very cautious because of the prices they charge us.
Yeah, I think it's upwards of 15% now, and at least in most of the country, maybe even the world. But it is ridiculous how much money is being paid. That doesn't go to the drivers. That's not the delivery fee.
Nope.
Because there's the delivery fee, which you guys pay, which goes to the driver, and then the driver, they get a percentage of the delivery fee. Correct. And then there's the tip on top of it, which everyone says that the drivers get 100% of it, which I guess I generally believe. But then there's the service fee, which is that 15% that we're talking about, which seems reasonable. However, the price of the food, if you go to McDonald's and you order $13 worth of food, by the time you get it delivered, it's going to be $26 with the fees, with the taxes, with the tip, and with the delivery. And most of the time, like I will say this, the delivery drivers are generally not making enough money, and the restaurants are not making enough money in this model.
Correct.
Okay, so
Correct.
If DoorDash isn't making enough money, then there's something wrong with the model. That's all I'm going to say. And I get it, everyone needs food, and we need these deliveries, but we've got to be able, and robots and automation is not the answer. I'm sorry. There's something we're doing wrong where the in-between step is making way more money than the finished food step. And so,
go ahead. I'm going to give you a little. So customers see it on their end, how much a $13 burger could increase because of the fees of whichever third-party app, nothing specific, can make it to $26. You can almost double. But how about this? A lot of consumers don't know that before COVID, which they're trying to do now, we were getting charged at the most 34% to be on certain third-party apps platforms. 34%. So not only they're double charging the customer, they're paying us half.
Yeah, and that's what I just want everyone to realize. So the customer is paying 15%, but then they're also paying the restaurant, which then the restaurant is paying a percentage of that fee back to DoorDash or to Uber or to whoever also. I mean, yes. And the only reason I'm not saying that we need to get rid of delivery service. I'm just saying we need to be very aware of what's going on here, yes. And the power and the control and the key to the kingdom here. And that's exactly. And so if you're paying for it, like, what is it that we're paying for? What does that 15% bring? Okay, marketing and advertising, I can get clicks online. Well, so can any other restaurant now. Like, there's not much barrier to entry. So that's not a suitable thing. So everyone paying the same amount of money, this becoming this giant marketplace of delivery food, which marks up the food, which causes inflation, because now the same thing that you would normally charge $13 in store to sell it online, you're going to charge $17. And then on top of that, they're marking it up 15%. So you having to charge more to cover their fee actually gives them more percentages all the way around. Just so everyone's aware, that's why it's a percentage. So you having to up your cost to make up for their percentage, you're just playing a running game at upping until their percentage is enough that you make enough on your percentage to cover your own, but at the same time, they're getting more and more and more by you having to increase to cover your price. So on both sides, from the customer and from the merchant, as they call it, or vendor. So correct. It's a crazy scenario that we live in. It's a good business model for them. It makes money. However, it's going to uniform and almost deface our food system, because now the face of our business is DoorDash, not McDonald's, even though McDonald's is giving us the meal. And so we just have to be aware that that is going on. And as consumers, like, because McDonald's does a great job delivering doesn't mean the Uber driver is going to do a great job delivering it. And that's part of, as entrepreneurs, as restaurateurs, that's why I asked the question, because of pickles and their sensitivity and being fried, like handling all this and getting the food delivered amongst this chaos of costs and drivers and, you know, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just, there's not much regulation. That's part of the problem. We are totally deregulated in the food delivery business. It is, the government doesn't have oversight over it. The states don't have oversight of it. The legislation that's trying to catch up with it is too far behind already because it moved so fast during COVID. So it's great. It's helping businesses, but at some point there's going to be a falling out because they control too much of the gate to the entry for the consumer into these businesses. Anyway, that's my opinion. And then my last is this, that if you look at the ones that are out there, they're starting to build their own restaurants. They're starting to build their own stores. So are they helping us or are they hurting us as entrepreneurs? So while it may be in the short run look good, in the long run they're actually building ghost kitchens and things like that in their own food businesses to compete with you. That's what I would do. Yeah. So, you know, I hate to say it, but if they own the customers and the restaurants don't, what do? You convert the customers to your own products so you make higher profit margins. Business 101. And so I mean, I just think that in the audience and everyone, and, you know, DoorDash is a big part of this podcast and everything else, but it is something to be aware of. You know, It is something to be aware of, that as long as we allow them, as long as we as food entrepreneurs allow this or think that they have more power than us, even though we have more power collectively, it goes back to like this whole modern, like you let Goliath has all the power, even though there's a hell of a lot more Davids. And so we just have to be aware of what's going on here, and we have to decide how we're going to handle it. And everyone's like, oh, it's a momentum you can't stop. The consumers are there. I agree. I'm not saying I have a solution. I'm just saying we need to be aware that there's a growing problem here that could cause a huge bottoming out. Any of these companies go under or mismanage or anything like that, there's a huge bottom out, and not one company is going to go fill a market. And who's going to take care of all the jobs? So when I say deregulation, or they're not regulated, I guess deregulation means they were regulated in the first place. They're unregulated, and there's just no way to control what's going on there, in my opinion. And I think that they'll continue to charge up those fees as long as there aren't caps, and as long as governments keep getting pushed around, because we all know that they now have enough money to do the lobbying. And that's the problem when businesses and industries grow fast, is if they outpace the regulation, they can get into lobby and create their own regulations around it. Companies like Heinz actually did this, but they did it for food safety. They were trying to compete with everyone else who was doing it wrong, and they went and lobbied for food safety. So it depends on what your motive is, but I would just say that we're looking at things a little bit differently here. The entrepreneurs, the consumers, they're not seeing the end product. And it's almost an Amazon model, for lack of a better term. We have these giant conglomerates who basically deliver the food. So, Michael, talk to me about the things that you love the most about being in business, the things you love most about being an entrepreneur. What do you love about the pickle business, or being in New York City? Like anything like that that I think is just hugely important about who you are.
Being an entrepreneur, like I said before, you can be creative. You have the freedom to speak or create what's in your mind. If you have a different perspective, you can be open about that. So you can trial at your course, at the entrepreneur's course, at my course. If I have an idea, I have to fully understand, like you said before, that this may fail, but it's at my cost. I'm responsible for that, but the freedom of being open and creative, that's why I do it. And I'll take that risk. The great thing about being an entrepreneur is leading a team that, if you know how it feels and somebody has, and you see that entrepreneurship in somebody else that may not have the opportunity, I feel good when I give that person opportunity. Even if he's an employee, that person should be open to be creative in that person's position. So it doesn't have to be an entrepreneur as far as like going up and opening this big business. It could be in that person's position, being creative and allowing him to create, basically. In New York City, the good thing is that we run into a lot of people as far as social, business, employees. We have a different range of employees, nationalities, personalities, and I can learn people because everybody's different, and learning how to deal with this person. And the goal is to get along with everybody, no matter what. It's a beautiful thing. And in New York City, it's a giant melting pot. So you're going to run into all kinds of customers, little less unhappy, more unhappy customers. So in learning how to deal with those situations, still holding your morals, your ethics, and being professional, is a challenge, but I love the challenge. So New York City brings that, and people appreciate the uniqueness and creativity that we put in just with the pickle. I apologize, I can't mail fried pickles, some fried pickles, but you can enjoy some pickles from the Pickle Guys. That's our team as well. But anytime anybody's in New York City from out of state, we would love them for them to stop by and really try, because you would get out an experience that you've never had any other time in your life.
I love this. And lastly, as we sort of wrap this up, actually there's two parts to this. The first part is, like, what are leadership skills that you think are the most valuable in a human or in someone's character in being an entrepreneur? And then after that, the mic is yours to inspire, give entrepreneurs advice, what you wish you knew when you started being an entrepreneur, anything like that. So the first part is, I forgot what the first part was, actually. Your inspiration, I believe. And then the second part is, we want to share and inspire others.
Yeah, so being a
leadership
leader,
skills, yeah, sorry.
Yep, leaders. No, it's all good. So being a leader, it takes a lot. You know, being an entrepreneur first, what I've learned is most of the time you got to learn the hard way, because you're already probably unique and have a perspective that nobody else has. So there's going to be a lot of people who agree with you and a lot of people who do not agree with you. But the only way to find out is you just have to do it. There's no right or wrong answer. You just got to do it. And once you do it, then that's where your learning lessons are. Being a leader, you take, a lot of morals, a lot of ethics, a lot of like standards. Being a leader, you have to show them, the best version of you. You have to show people that you're allowed to make mistakes. It's how you recover from them. It's how you handle those mistakes. You're allowed to, be great and successful. It's also how you handle that success. So when you lead a team, you definitely have to lead by example, but be a human being. Don't be this perfect guy where, in some leadership teams, in some teams with their leaders, sometimes they're unapproachable. We all have issues personally. We all have personal things that are going on. So we need to take that in consideration. Be an open book as a leader, where that person or that team can come to you about anything. So, being a leader, you're responsible. You're responsible for a team, not just one person, but many. As far as any motivation or any words for any upcoming or entrepreneurs in general, I would say just create and be yourself. You're going to hear, this may sound cliche, but 1,000 people are going to tell you no. 1,000 good people tell you no. Nobody knows. Those no's can turn that one yes, you could be the most successful person. And so we have so many success stories. And the realest thing is, like, everybody's not going to be successful. Everybody's not going to be that successful entrepreneur. But, I don't really do it for success. I just do it for the creativity and to be open and really get my ideas out there. I wasn't always a successful entrepreneur. I have a lot of I have more failure stories than success stories. And, something's got to stick. And if it didn't, then I would go get a 9-to-5. That was plan B. But until then, I'm going to keep trying until I can't anymore. And that's it. Just be creative. Research, a lot of reading. The more research and education that you have, the less mistakes that you will probably make because you have that education. And that's it. Just try to be great, do the best you can, the best you can, and that's it.
Thank you so much, Michael. I really appreciate it. Could you let everyone know where they could find you guys, where your address is, what your social media is, etc., for your business and for you, if you want to share that as well?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My name is Mike Garlick, Garlick. Just Google us, Diller NYC, Diller NYC. We're on all social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, you name it, Facebook, we're on it. So you just Google us. We're located in the heart of New York City. Actually not the heart, more lower side. We call it the Lower East Side, where it used to be the Pickling District. So Lower East Side, 357 Grand Street, New York, 10002. Just Google us, Diller NYC. You'll find us. If you come in, say hi. I heard Mike Garlick on the show, on a podcast, and we'll hook you up.
Love it. What's your favorite food other than pickles? I have one more question, just because I'm curious. In New York City, what's your favorite food other than pickles?
Oh man, to be honest, I don't have. What I appreciate about New York City's foods is that it's so many different cultures in one, especially Lower East Side. It's no favorite food, but my Right now, I don't have that's a very difficult question. I don't have a favorite right now. I don't. Yeah, I've been dibbling and dabbling, throughout New York City, but I don't have a favorite right now.
I love it. I mean, it's hard because New York City has a little bit of everything, and I agree with you. Like, it could be Cuban one day, it could be Puerto Rican the next day, it could be Italian tomorrow. It could be donuts and bagels,
Exactly.
And it never ceased to amaze me, all of the variety and the constant new innovation and businesses and the things that people do, like what you guys are doing. I think that what you guys are doing with the fried pickles and the burgers and the sandwiches and the menu is just incredible. And the fried mushrooms and anything that's pickled, I'm interested to see what else you guys eventually come up with. So I appreciate you again, Michael. Again, everyone, sorry my commentary at the beginning was a little bit jittery, but basically what I'm saying, as an entrepreneur, we make mistakes in our businesses and in our personal lives. We just have to own it, and we just have to pivot, and we learn from our mistakes as fast as possible. That's what makes us entrepreneurs. That's what separates us from the rest of the world or the rest of the animals or other humans, is that it's our ability to get knocked down constantly or learn lessons, or what would knock someone else down is more just like a flesh wound to us. We feel it hurts, but we move on. It's more like a paper cut. And if you allow too many of them to go on, yes, you can have death by 1,000 paper cuts. But the entrepreneur generally deals with the paper cut within a timely manner and understands how to make sure it doesn't happen again. First, we triage it. We figure out how to move forward. Then we go back and analyze why did it happen? How can we make sure it doesn't happen again? And is it important enough to actually address where it's not just a one-off? Because a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we have a huge problem happen and it's just a one-off, and we adjust our whole business to it thinking it's a good idea, and it's not a good idea. I do want to say that also we live in a world where everyone's pivoting and everyone's jumping and everyone's Mr. Entrepreneur and Mrs. Entrepreneur. Well, it also means picking your head up and looking around a little bit and pausing. It doesn't mean jumping or pivoting or being so reactionary, because I see so many entrepreneurs, based on how fast-paced the world is and the reels and everything, that we're being reactionary. And so to tie together the commentary to what I just said is, when we're reactionary as entrepreneurs, as humans, and we don't think things through, and we don't make sure that it's a credible, logical thought, and we don't weigh out the impact of our life. Not saying we shouldn't jump after opportunity, or when opportunity knocks, we shouldn't open the door. But what I am saying is, you can look out the peephole. You can say, hold on a minute, let me put on my clothes before I open the door, so I'm not stark naked when I open it and fully exposed. And that's what I'm trying to say here. It doesn't mean that I'm trying to turn everyone away or we're trying to do it. It just means you can slow down every once in a while, and that is okay. And when we don't, and life gets hectic and we're trying to make a lot of decisions, and we take on too much during a day, we end up in personal and professional crisis, in my opinion, based on my experience. So make sure that you weigh things very heavily and you think about things logically, and you don't get caught up in your emotions, because when they start to drive the bus, they don't drive in the right direction for sure. So thank you again. Michael, you have anything you want to say again before we go?
No, that's it. I mean, I think you explained it all. You hit a lot of points. Great having me. I appreciate the time. And everybody, yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for listening in. Share the episode. Give it 5 stars. If you like these guys over at Pickle Guys, you like Diller, write a review. Give it 5 stars. Share it. Do whatever you can, because that helps the entrepreneurs on here. That's how the algorithms work. I'm just going to be point blank. That's what it is. No different than what's obvious. Word of mouth actually helps the algorithm. Sharing it, writing comments, liking it does wonders. So we give it away for free. These entrepreneurs come on here for free. No one's getting paid to do anything. We're just trying to give away good content here and share what's out there and push it in the way that we can with what's been given to us. So thank you guys for listening in. I love all of you. You can find us on Instagram at Justin the Food Entrepreneurs, and you can find us on Spotify or wherever else you grow yourself through podcasts. I love you guys. We're out.